You may have to cancel that square on the screen, otherwise you won't see my face, which would be terrible. Right. What I wanted to start with was, though we got a lot of quotes from the Course in Miracles tonight, one of my teachers was Nisargadatta Maharaj, an awake guy. And this workshop is continuing with the themes of a quiet mind and an open heart. It's sort of like more being than doing. He said, to think yourself to be something or somebody is death and hell. I'll say that again. To think yourself to be something or somebody is death and hell. Now, this is the complete opposition to our conditioning, where we're meant to be grown up into responsible jobs and hopefully be well known and make lots of money and stand out. But when I study these awakened people, they often talk about feeling that they're nothing or nobody, and they're happy. Like that Buddhist monk who couldn't speak much English, but he was asked, why are you so happy? And he said, no self, no problem. Try to be only to be. The all-important word is try. Enough time daily for sitting quietly and just trying to go beyond the personality with its addictions and obsessions. Don't ask how. It cannot be explained. You just keep on trying until you succeed. If you persevere, there can be no failure. What matters supremely is sincerity, earnestness. You must really have had enough of being the person you are. Now see the urgent need of being free of all this unnecessary self-identification with a bundle of memories and habits. This steady resistance against the unnecessary is the secret of success. Notice it matters supremely, sincerity and earnestness. That's what takes you to the goal. I'll look at this a bit later, but all the people I've ever studied, I saw in them this great desire to wake up, to be different, to drop their ego. And it seems to magnetize the universe around you to give you what you want. What I'll do is I'll switch over to a few diagrams to help illustrate some of this. So I'll share the screen now. And perhaps getting back to what Ross said about, what's our part in all of this spiritual path. And this is how not to do it. If you're on a phone, it says, okay, God, I'm ready. So he's got the right cross-legged posture. He's got plenty of crystals. He's been studying all the books by the looks of it. He's united with nature. He's got the flower there. Got the symbols of light. Probably the Om sound comes out of that symbol over there. Hare Krishna. And he's anticipating the halo by the looks of it here. So he thinks he's prepared himself totally for God and he's ready to go. But as we see later, there's that portion in the Course that says, you do not know the way to God. God knows the way to you. I won't say anything more on that on the moment, but that's what Ross was touching on. The call for humility. This is from another teacher that I'm fond of. As long as you're trying to become, trying to get somewhere, trying to attain something, you're quite literally moving away from the truth itself. You like that, Ross?
I like Ed, yeah. He's really good.
So your message is on the board tonight. The interesting thing is, you must want awakening above all, but you mustn't fall into the trap of neediness, like the guy before, where, goodness, if I double my meditation, perhaps I'll wake up by the end of the month, If I switch from meat to being a vegan, maybe I'll wake up in 2 weeks. And then the 2 weeks goes by and you haven't, and then you're upset and a bit angry at God. And then you look at something else you can do. But at the same time, they say you must have that desire to wake up. Okay. I'll move the faces around and we'll go on to, is that what I want? This is our friend Thich Nhat Hanh. I think he died recently. We have a tendency to think in terms of doing, not in terms of being. We think that when we're not doing anything, we're wasting our time. But that's not true. Our time is first of all for us to be. To be what? Be alive, to be peaceful, to be joyful, be loving. And this is what the world needs the most. We all need to train ourselves in our way of being. There's the ground of all action. Our quality of being determines our quality of doing. He said a huge lot in that. This goes back to, do you want to be a somebody or a nobody? Somebody's are always doing. Somebody's are wondering what other people think about their doing, and whether it's a good enough doing. They have to make their way in the world and make their mark. And our actions, yeah, we'll have actions, but it comes, as he says, out of our beingness. If we can center in the beingness, in the calm, centered life, feeling guided, then there'll be time for actions and there'll be a time for no actions. Some days you might just want to spend in bed or with a book or just gazing at the clouds. And another day you're galvanized into action because it feels right. The dog owners, how we would enter a park, human on the left, dog on the right. Dog is just dealing with what is sun, trees, and grass. Human, well, we all know about that. Probably everything but dog, trees, and grass. And the last one, of course, in Miracles. Save time for me by only this one preparation and practice nothing else. I need do nothing. Is the statement of an allegiance, a truly undivided loyalty. Believe it for just one instant, and you'll accomplish more than is given to a century of contemplation or a struggle against temptation. The ego looks at that and says, great, I'll get on the couch, open a beer, and watch the TV for the rest of the day. But the people who know this are often quite busy people. Kenneth Wapnick was very busy, but he didn't seem to be doing it. It means I don't do it by myself. I do it with spirit. I'm guided. In the Bible, what's that? It's not I that do these works, but my Father through me. So it's a call for the guided life, and that you won't be doing it, something will be doing it through you. And that will include guiding you in your spiritual path. Back to Ross's theme again. Interesting how it's coming up tonight. But of course, the ego trap is there, and there's plenty of non-dual people going around. They tell me something, and they say, Michael, you don't have to do anything. You're already awake. There's no need for practice. That just puts a block in, you're awake, don't do anything, don't practice, don't do this. But you can see obviously that they're not awake either. They've fallen in love with such a ultimately true statement that if they are as God created you, if you're still the Christ, why are you bothering to do anything? You can't improve on the Christ. Of course, as the course says, this is not a book about love. It's about the obstacles to love. And what are 365 lessons doing in there if I need do nothing? It's heavy on practice. So the practice is to get you to the stage of, oh, I need do nothing. I can just be guided now. I wake up in the morning and I'll be told what to do. Go back to sleep, have a cup of tea, read the course. I mean, that's up the spiritual ladder. So the practice will be to take you to I need do nothing in 724. And I think most of us are not there yet. Otherwise, you would be on this workshop and I wouldn't be giving it. I'll come back to the room and maybe some sharings or questions have come up at this point. Any questions out there? Or is there nothing for you to do now?
It's straight. It appears to me, as I go along with this, that the non-dual path is really almost a non-path. Really, it's a process of undoing, as opposed to a series of practices like that illustration you had put up for that fellow with a whole lot of trinkets around him. It's all, of course, it's all just constructs and behaviors, acting a certain way, and a whole lot of symbols around him that just don't mean a thing. And so the path of the course, or any truly non-dual teaching, is just not in line with anything else in this world, which is all about doing and non-duality, and going towards that is very much a path of undoing, which is really an unpath almost.
Yes, very much so. I agree. In fact, the course says, about the path, it's a journey without distance, to a place you've never left.
Oh, sure, nothing's happened, and I get that. I really do. And I've had those forgiveness experiences where I genuinely got it, that nothing's happened, and there's a true relief in that is a lightening of this emotional load I carry.
Yeah.
So I guess I understand what it's pointing at. My initial comment, when it started the evening, was simply what part truly does this self concept play in this, really? Because there's so many examples of people who weren't looking for it and got it. And they weren't practicing a thing. They weren't practicing forgiveness, nothing. And then, boom, hey, presto. So you sort of go, well, so what am I doing? What's this all about, really? Am I just, tire kicking, or, what am I doing?
There's often been comments from the awakened about what you just said. And what I've tended to hear is that they've done a lot of work in a previous life.
Yeah.
You take the great sage Ramana Maharshi, He was about 15. He had no interest in spiritual pursuits. He was a wrestler. He loved playing football. And then one day he just felt a feeling he was about to die. And he laid down and fully went into the experience. And he had this blinded awakening, that's affected hundreds of thousands of people. But you couldn't see any practice that he did at all. But I think he also hinted on other lives. And then some magic moment comes along, some word, some teacher, and the veil drops. That's the way I seem to see it, and the way I've heard it explained. So if we haven't had all that previous stuff in lives, then our forgiveness practice is the one this path talks about. The path is not a path. And I certainly have plenty of opportunities to practice forgiveness. So that'll keep me going.
For sure, definitely.
I think for me on that point, I
Yeah.
just say, um, that if I were to do nothing, I mean, not have any, do any work on it or change my perceptions and all that.
Mhm.
I've just found that it's brought me a lot more peace
Mm.
as a result of doing it. And I guess that's why I go, well, if it actually takes me to enlightenment or not, it's given me more peace. It's worked for me. I guess
Oh,
that's why.
sure. It's a win-win. That's I
Yeah,
totally agree.
yeah. But yeah, as far as I think the time that we wake up, they say is already predetermined. I think also you can make it harder for yourself if you think it's meant to be hard. There's so many different teachings and all that, and go, oh, we've got to do this, we've got to, and it's like, well, if that's what you believe, that's what's going to occur too, isn't it? So
On that timing of awakening, it's interesting. It comes in early in the course. It says, when you look at the teachings on time, everything's already happened. It's all over and done with, but we're sort of perversely attracted to separation. So it says you're reviewing what has already gone by. So already gone by is the time when you spiritually awake. It's there now, waiting for welcome. So it says that's there, but the timing's up to you when you experience it. It's like analogy I sometimes use of that book, with chapters. They sell these books where at the end of the chapter you can see which way the story goes. John meets Jane, they stay together, page 16, they part, page 20, and that's the book of your life. And then there's the chapter of when you woke up. And you can get there quickly or slowly, according to whether you're reading ego chapters or chapters recommended by the Holy Spirit. But you can't do anything else that's in that book because you're reviewing mentally what's gone by, which tends to fry our brains because we came here to experience time and space and separation and what that involves, even though it's painful. But yeah, we got the free will at some point to just jump to that chapter.
It seems to me that at the moment, whether it's I'm influenced by the fact that I've not been well for the last 2 weeks, but it's been very obvious to me that if I didn't have responsibilities, sort of everyday responsibilities, that I would be very happy. And I know this isn't what we were talking about in the sense of, do nothing, but I would be very happy to not necessarily do nothing physically, but do nothing in terms of thinking anything. I am really happy not thinking. And it's only the fact that the dog comes up and wants something that I have to then start thinking about that. And I don't know whether that's, really an ego get out, oh, don't do anything. Physically, I do things all the time, but thinking, I'm starting to think that there's nobody in here because sometimes I watch myself. I watch myself all the time, actually, but it's observing the fact that I'm not thinking. And I think I was actually took Doug for a walk, and she just flops down sometimes and goes, I'm just not going anywhere now. So I just stand there, wait for her to decide she's going to move. And I realized there's probably people watching me out the window and things. So I actually have found that I go, oh, I'll just look at that tree or I'll just, look down on the ground. But there's truly nothing going on. And I'm reminded of something that Michael says all the time was when he goes to a lake and he's just resting. He has to put his knees up, like in that sort of crook so that people don't think he's dead. And I feel that way myself, that I have to move my head around to make people think I'm not totally retarded or something, which is a horrible thing to say. But like, I would be really happy just standing there holding the dog on a lead,
And do
just
that.
doing nothing.
Jill, I was thinking, we were talking earlier about a guy called Jurgen. I mentioned some posts. And he woke up and he listed 12 things rather wonderful. I think you saw the article.
Yeah.
He woke up, he decided to give himself a week in Scotland totally alone. He took a big bean bag, which he sat on and looked out of the door at the trees. And in that week, he woke up. And sometimes when I hear you speak, Jill, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if you could give the dog to someone and then just go off for a week? And you know, the food's there, the accommodation's there, and you just be. And you've had some ill health issues, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I just wonder sometimes if there's something waiting for you and you're delaying it, and that can end up in sickness. Just
Mm.
thought, if if that doesn't register in you, forget it. But that's just it came to me.
Did you say that I'm delaying it with sickness? Is that what you just said?
Saying there's a line in the course that when truth comes close to you, one of the reasons for sickness, you choose sickness to make truth go away,
Ah, yes.
a headache go away. Like
Yes.
there may be an awakening waiting for you. 'Cause it's unusual to hear people having no thoughts and wanting to be in that space, and our life doesn't give that too easy. So your needs are just as important as your dogs, and if necessary, you could play with some dogs at a dog's home for a week. And then you could go off and just spend some time with God. Anyway, just a thought.
Mm. Thank you.
Good. Well, what I wanted to look at next was a section in the course called Knowing Nothing. So it's all on this sort of theme we're dealing with here. And minds, of course, wants to know everything because it's our security and perhaps our pride. But you know, Jesus and babies come in and they know nothing. And they're quite happy to ask 1 million questions. And in the Bible and in the course, Jesus says, you know, you've got to become like the little child again that doesn't know and is open to being guided. And we get in the way so much. I had a friend who I used to drive him around. He was so impatient. He couldn't wait for me to open the door. So as I was undoing all the locks, he was pulling at the door handle, which would then stop the door opening. And I just asked him, would you just do nothing? Can let me unlock the car? It's slowing everything down. And at Findhorn, there was a guy, where I went away on holidays, he used to rent my house and he was following a certain path of meditation. It was a scientific path, and you have to sort of log off. You need to do several thousand hours of meditation, and it was guaranteed you would wake up. And boy, he put the hours in. And he used my quiet bungalow to do all this practice. He ended up neurotic and drinking. And the mothers at Findhorn would keep their children away from him because he was a weirdo. And he'd thrown himself totally into this because it really appealed, you know, 10,321 hours and I'm enlightened. But was that really his path? It could be someone else's, I suppose. But if you say, look, really, I don't know anything. Really, I need help here, like a baby. We get somewhere. And in the course, this is pointed out as the test of peace. And it says, you have one test as sure as God, by which to recognize if what you learned is true. If you're wholly free of fear of any kind, and if all those who meet or even think of you share in your perfect peace, then you can be sure that you have learned God's lessons and not your own. Unless all this is true, there are dark lessons in your mind that hurt and hinder you and everyone around you. Think not you understand anything until you pass the test of perfect peace. For peace and understanding go together and can never be found alone. So in that last sentence, if you don't have 24/7 peace, you understand nothing of importance. You may know everything about the ego's world, but nothing of importance. And also to be careful when it says people will share your peace. It means they recognize your peace, but it doesn't mean they will be peaceful. Most of the people who knew Jesus in Palestine were upset by his peace and plotted to kill him. But they were aware he was different. They were aware he had peace. So this is the biggie, you know. Test of peace. Haven't got it 24/7? Right. You don't know anything. You need to listen to someone to take you home. Elsewhere, he says in the course, if you think you're a body, you're insane. So hands up here, anyone who does not think they're a body. Which ties in with the metaphysics. You're at home of God. You're at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable of awakening to reality. The question is, do you want to wake from the dream? And Niscadana pointed out once that you don't want the nightmares, but you do like the happy dreams. So you go and try and get a few more happy dreams of money, sex, drugs, rock and roll, people like you, etc. Any comments? Yet the essential thing is learning that you do not know. Knowledge is power, and all power is of God. You who have tried to keep power for yourself have, quotes, lost it. You still have the power. You're Christ. But you've interposed so much between it and your awareness of it that you cannot use it. Yet all that stands between you and the power of God in you is but your learning of the force and your attempts to undo the truth. So we have the power of God in us, but we have it screened out. We're like somebody gave us, like we've been beggars all our life, tattered clothes on the street, holding down our beggar bowl, and then we die, and then someone looks at the bowl and they find it's made of pure gold. If you sold it, you'd have had quite a different life. Like we don't recognize what we carry inside us as the Christ because we've chosen something else. Be willing then for all of it to be undone and be glad that you're not bound to it forever. For you've taught yourself to imprison the Son of God, a lesson so unthinkable that only the insane in deepest sleep could even dream of it. That's us. Your learning gives the present no meaning at all. Nothing you've ever learned can help you understand the present or teach you how to undo the past. Your past is what you've taught yourself. Let it all go. Do not attempt to understand any event or anything or anyone in its quotes light. The darkness in which you try to see only obscure. Let it all go, or as Byron Katie would say, who would you be without your story? Which is often a victim story, unfairly treated story, bad upbringing story. Any comments? What we'll do in a moment then is I'll have an exercise involved with the heart where we can deal with letting it all go. And you can pick something. So let it all go. And then afterwards we'll pair up in our breakout rooms. Any questions or comments before we try the exercise?
Actually, I would like to say something, and I don't know whether this is relevant, actually. But if we're talking about doing a forgiveness lesson, then maybe it is. I realized the other day that I really don't like myself at all. But, and there's a really big but here, which I think is really good. I realized that to fit in all my life, because I've been a complete weirdo since I was very, very young, and I think it was probably early teens, I realized it's very simple how you get on in life. You just be what other people want you to be. So, what has happened since probably maybe about, I don't know, 14, I walk into a room, you survey the room, you decide what the people are going, who who the people are, what kind of people they are, and you just be that person. So, cut a long story short, I've always thought, well, God, if I had a big party at my house, there is absolutely no way I could have all the people I know there, because I wouldn't know how to behave. Because with that group of people, I'm going to be this person, and with that person, I'm going to be that person, because I'm suiting myself. I'm making myself like them. So I would be just like completely psychotic if I had a party at my house and introduced all the people that I know. Not so much now, because I actually don't know anybody except you guys, so it doesn't really matter. But what I was going to say was, I don't hate me, whoever that is. I hate the roles I've been playing all my life.
Oh,
The roles, the actor. And it's like an actor going home and going, oh, I absolutely hate myself, thinking because he's playing Jack the Ripper, that's who he is. And so there's so much forgiveness there, but it's actually just for nonsensical things, because I am not that person. I am not those people I've played for all these years. I'm not all those people. It
oh,
was huge. It was a huge revelation
is
to
that
me.
is that recent, Joe?
Oh, just the other week.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful.
And I've wondered why do you hate yourself so much? You're kind, generous, you do anything for anyone. What is your problem? And it's because as soon as I get up in the morning, I'm playing all these different roles. And I don't like those people.
Right. What's interesting is that I feel that connects with your earlier sharing, because I know the times on our mighty networks, you said how easy it is for you to have no thought,
Mm,
no test, and many times in the exercise I've led, you've just gone into a wonderful no thought space. And I was just thinking, well, when there's no thought, there's no identity, there's no
mm,
being there. And then you come out into the world so full of people identifying with who they are, and you're coming in as a nobody. And then, my God, I better be somebody quickly. No one's going to understand someone coming around who's a nobody.
that's exactly right.
Good insights. Oh, but here you are talking with us, very much in the moment, articulating very well. So it could be the I need do nothing. If I just trust it, I could go into a group of people, not do the reflex of, oh, I better be like that mob over there.
Mm,
I need do nothing, but coming through me will be a loving approach, because the Course says the only purpose of the body is as a loving tool of communication. So you may come in and you won't know what you're going to do, which frightens the life out of any ego, of course. But you would be guided in any group to be a loving tool of communication. How's that appeal?
well, it does. And I think that this is the group, on the Mighty Networks, is that even when I write things, when I just, that is me. you
Yeah.
know, and you know, there might be some humor in what I write. You know, you've sort of said, you know, here's the title for a book, and that is me. That is me. And when I'm on here, it's me because, well, see, is it just because I recognize I've surveyed the room
Hmm.
and said this is who I need to be? I don't know. It feels more comfortable. I don't feel I'm pretending here. Whereas out in the world, I am just an actor on a stage playing a part. And I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people. I'm sure it's just that maybe I've recognized it and other people haven't.
Yes, I think most of us try to fit in. Peer group pressure is one of the strongest psychological effects on us. You know, that if you stand out in the wrong way in a group, people comment and you try and get back into the group. So they did experiments on this which were astonishing, really. They called for volunteers, and you go in as a volunteer into an office, and they just show you sticks, pieces of wood of different length, the short, medium, and long, and you're asked to say which is the shortest one. And they keep showing you these three sticks, and of course you get it, 99, 100% right, no problem. And they say, oh, well, I want you to join the next room. There's a group of people there. We'll be continuing with the experiment. And so you're watching the guy on the stage holding up the sticks. It says, raise your hand when I pick out a short stick. You stick your hand up, but no one else is sticking their hand up. And you look around. This actually happens in the experiment. And there was like 10 in the room, and they were told, because it's an experiment, never put your hand up for the short. And his success rate went from 100% to about 33% on picking the short stick, which was so obvious. And then the third room, another 10 people, half of them were told to put their hands up when the short stick went up, and the other half not to. And his success rate went from about 33% to about 60%. As more people were agreeing with him and he fitted in, he was doing the right thing. That's on the length of a stick and $10 an hour payment, So you can just imagine what happened the last 2 years in COVID and people who thought different about lockdowns, jabs, social distancing, and masks, they were jumped on from a very large height. So that's what we're dealing with here and what you're saying, quick, what's this group about? And my late wife, Celeste, she described herself as a psychic pleaser, right like you. People will come in and she could suss them out in seconds how she needs to act to be safe. It's amazing.
And it is about being safe,
Yeah, being safe. People who stand out, difficult things happen to them.
And up until, say, being about 15 or 16, say, I was just not acceptable at all.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal at that age.
Yeah, totally. You mustn't stand out. I watched a group last story. We got an ice cream bar around here, and it was the server that told me what happened, because I see these groups, mainly of teenage girls, and there's a real sort of group mentality about them. She said, "Oh, Michael, there are 6 of them are coming here, and we've got like 30 flavors of ice cream." And the leader looks at them and says, "I'll have chocolate," and the other 6 all have chocolate. It's classic. No matter what the leader picks, they have it, because to stand out, they're going to be ridiculed. Well, jolly good. Thanks for sharing that. And what we'll do now is we'll move on to the exercise where you can take anything like this you like, and we'll use the heart, and then we'll pair up. So if you like to relax and close your eyes, be comfortable. Unmute you all so there's no noises. Okay, everyone's muted. Just take a few deep breaths. Surrounding you now at all times is that presence of peace, that love, the guides, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, whatever word you want to use. And they need to be welcomed to help you in this exercise. So just send out a silent prayer of welcome. You're open to be helped. Call a name if you like. Imagine light coming down onto you if you wish. Now bring up an issue that you wish to work with. It could be unforgiveness for somebody else, or an unforgiveness for you, looking at your past behavior, things you feel guilty about. That's psychological pain. And make it real. If it's another person, you might remember the last conversation you had, where perhaps you're in an argument. All right to feel angry or sad or hateful. If it's for yourself, again, you can remember an incident which, when you did something you felt a bit ashamed about afterwards, or you hated yourself for. If nothing comes, choose someone you don't like, dead or alive, on the TV or not. Make it real for you and feel where it's mirrored in the body. Somewhere it's mirrored. Some sensation, mild or stronger. If you can put an accepting hand over that part of the body. You're not trying to heal it. You're befriending it. You're sending it love. You're saying it's okay for you to be there. I made you. Just take a moment to see how large it is and what shape it is. Get to know it. Now imagine a clear tube. One end of that tube goes into the pain, and the top of the tube goes to the top of your heart. If the pain is on the top of the heart, you can see the tube going further out into the air, into space. So the tube connects the pain to the top of the heart. And as you breathe in, move some of the pain up the tube. Feel some of the pain starting to move up that tube. And as you breathe out, see the pain leave the body and change into light. You breathe up the pain and breathe it out as light. If it helps, you could imagine, say, some angels extending their hands to collect the light. Just continue this breathing. Breathing up the pain, breathing out the light. See if you notice if that area of your body is getting a bit lighter, less dense, less heavy. Check to see if you have any pain remaining that's sort of stuck there. And say to it, I love and accept you. I love and accept you. I created you. So now you're observing any pain left. You're being kind to it. You're accepting it. And turn to your guides and say, please give me a symbol, a picture of this pain that's remaining. And just watch what appears. Don't try and create anything. Give me a picture, a symbol of this pain. Do you feel you want to still keep it? It serves you in some way? Or is it time to be free? If you feel it's time to be free, turn to your guides and say, please change that picture into a healed symbol, a transmuted symbol, and see what comes. If you get a second symbol, which symbol do you want to keep? It's okay if you want the old one. It may serve you in some way. In front of you, there are two doors. Above the left door is your first symbol. Above the right door is hanging the new symbol. Choose which door you want to walk through and explore the life that's on the other side of that door. You can go through both doors if you wish to experiment. Take what time you need to feel complete with the exercise. And then just bring yourself back to the room. Good. Okay, everyone's back. Does anyone want to share anything about their exercise with the group briefly?
If I can, if I may,
Okay.
I was very not surprised, but happy about what I saw. And first in the exercise, representing the lingering pain, let's say something that I still need to let go, was a piece of coal, but then turned into a gold nugget. And it is where I feel like I am at the moment. I'm feeling well in my life and things are flowing, as I said in the beginning of the session. And I saw that gold was pretty much like the color in my office right here, where I spend a lot of time when I work. And it was a pleasant feeling of joy, and it's good where I'm at. I'm going in the right direction. But as we had already done an exercise before, like I did an exercise with you some time ago in the other workshop, where you were supposed to give your symbol to someone.
Yep.
I was very happy that I didn't have to give it to anybody. So I guess I'm not through with my forgiveness process in relation to the relationship. That was a breakup, and that has actually led me to where I am. And I know it is beneficial and it's positive, but I realize that I'm not really through yet. And I'm happy to accept it also. I need to accept that.
Oh, that's great.
It's all is working out. Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a process with us, isn't it? It's a process. Yeah. Anyone else want to share?
I wouldn't mind just a quick share of at the end. It was sort of me in these two quandaries of how to move forward in my life, and where, and in the end, it was got the symbol of a rabbit, and it's like going down the rabbit hole. It's pretty much like, well, the time that you wake up's already decided, so why not just see where the journey's taking you and enjoy it, and yeah, allow myself to be that instrument and piece as much as I can within whatever comes up. So yeah, that's an interesting symbol. But
I would just say that from the course's perspective, as I understand it, the time taken to sort of view that video if you're waking up is up to you. So it's not set like 3.5 years from now. So we can just cruise for 3.5 years, then it appears there's no time. So the waking up is actually there now. So it's up to us how long or how short before we put that video on, depending on how much forgiveness you've done.
yeah, well, we already are awake, aren't we?
Yes, yes. What God made never went to sleep. Well,
Yes.
in a way, yes. But we're still beautiful, eternal, formless Christs. Good news. Anyone else?
Well,
I can share. Yeah.
Vina.
Okay. Can I? Okay.
Yep.
I saw a lot of old memories sort of coming up from my earlier life. A lot, and then I got this picture of a gray heart, but with a diamond. A very nice, very how do you say, very bright diamond in the middle of the gray heart. And then I choose to go into the right door, and the diamond split up into thousands of small diamonds, and they affected my old memories. And I think it's saying that they are gone, they are not here. So it was a nice exercise. Thank you, Michael.
Yes, that's a
Yeah.
nice picture. Interesting picture you saw there. Yeah. I think sometimes we forget there's grace available. You don't have to do it all ourselves. And I witness some people's lives, they just have an amazing stroke of grace. And they go, wow, never knew where that came from. Bit like what Ross was sharing at one point. And then everything's changed. You think, oh, it also seems that we pave the way for grace. This is not, I don't know about this, but the people I respect say, you know, we can create conditions so that grace can suddenly strike like a lightning bolt. Because some of the things that grace brings through, if we weren't prepared for it, I think you could have a nervous breakdown, you know, because the shift is so big. And early on in the text, where Jesus has been covering the metaphysics, he said, study these notes well, because there'll come a time when you have experiences which should create awe in you. You know, you're in front of your God, and they could instead cause panic. So study the notes, you know, prepare, do your work. So when you're struck by lightning, you go, oh, wonderful. And you're not sedated and end up in a mental home. So there you go. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Is there any question? We've only just got a few minutes left. Was there any questions left over from the session today?
Michael, that's a good question.
Yeah, please.
Hi. There's a general question really regarding the Course in Miracles. I must admit I need to get back on it a little bit more because work's been getting in the way a bit. But the lessons themselves, I got to around about 120-ish or something like that. And things like the 5-minute practice thing, and you know, I wasn't being very diligent with that. And I thought, I'm missing something here. Maybe I need to start again. Right. So, but this time I thought, well, when I first started the book, I jumped straight into the lessons. I didn't read the text, which is like a third of the book, 600 odd pages at the beginning. So this time I jumped in and didn't bother with the lessons. I started reading the text first. I thought, well, I'm not in a hurry. Right. So, and I'm just coming towards the back end of the, you know, page 500 and something there. And then I'll start the lessons again. So is that the right thing to do? Read the text first, or are you supposed to read it in sort of parallel, or?
Jesus talks about this in the Manual for Teachers. And he says there is no order. Some will start, he says, at the more sort of dense level of the text, and others will go into the workbook. And the Manual for Teachers is perhaps the easiest, and some will go there. And then he ends by saying, and for some people, all they need is a smile because they're not ready. But a smile is good. So he gives no order. I mean, logically, you know, it's written as a teaching curriculum. You got your textbook, you apply it through the lessons, and then you got a Q&A book at the end, you know. So some people approach it with, they start reading the text and they start doing the lessons at the same time. But there is no specific guidance from Jesus. He just says, you know, don't do more than one lesson at a time. So no, whatever you're drawn to, you just do, you know. Yeah.
Brilliant.
No,
Thank you
yeah.
very much.
You haven't sinned.
Yeah, bless you.
Anyone else before?
What time is it over there?
In
I
Brisbane,
wanna know
7:30 p.m. in Brisbane.
7:30.
Yeah.
Is that it for today, tonight, this morning, this afternoon? Well, group, thank you. Nice being with you. Jill, have a week off, put the dog somewhere, and I'll see you all again soon.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice being with
Thank
you
you
all.
all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye bye.